Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and I'm here today bringing you another Titan guide for Titanfall 2. The Flame God, the Pyro, the Firestarter, whatever you choose to call him, he's the AI inside of the chassis known as SCORCH, a master of crowd control and wonderful, wonderful dealer of dots. And it all starts with his weapon of choice, the Thermite Launcher, a single-shot grenade launcher that puts a focus on area of effect and over time damage at the cost of a low rate of fire. A well-honed SCORCH pilot is going to find themselves swapping between direct and indirect fire to maximize damage in a variety of combat situations, and also developing a strong urge to set everything aflame wherever they go. The core of SCORCH's success is with his toolkit, his abilities, each of which are designed to work in harmony, allowing you, the pilot, to stack, layer, and combine them to maximize damage, and also to maximize the radius or the area of effect of said damage. Let's start by talking about those wonderful incendiary traps. These are gas canisters which can be deployed and then ignited via other flame sources like the firewall, thermal shield, and thermite launcher. The thing to understand about the incendiary trap is that you don't actually have to fire directly at the canister itself. As long as you can put a flame to the gas, you're going to be able to ignite these things, which makes them much more flexible, and which also makes SCORCH much more flexible, especially when dealing with entrenched enemies, whether they're behind environmental cover or ability-based cover, like Tone and her particle wall, Legion and his gun shield, so on and so forth. You can actually bounce the incendiary trap off walls, you can throw it over Tone's shield, and as long as you can see the gas and hit it with a flame, you can ignite it and push these titans, push these enemies out of their entrenched positions. It's a really powerful tool. And of course, it's also great for just layering and stacking damage on enemies as they try to push towards you or as they try to make an escape. You're really going to want to try and be preemptive with these things when it comes to mobile titans that are looking to engage and disengage you. Firing them behind the enemy or in front of the enemy to hit them as they escape or as they rush you is a great way to make sure you're constantly dealing damage with these things. Sometimes you'll get lucky and you can push a titan into a more confined space where you can just put an incendiary trap on each side of them, throw down a firewall, and just watch them burn. Speaking of the firewall, let's talk about it. It's a directed wall of thermite. You smack it on the ground, it ignites the ground. You can use it to kill pilots, to shut down specific routes for pilots. It's great for cleaning up AI, but more importantly, it's a great tool or a great addition to your crowd control tactics in Titan versus Titan battles. You can use it to cut off enemy routes, or at least herd them into a specific area that requires them to take damage if they try and escape. You're basically a sheepdog with a flamethrower and a grenade launcher that launches Molotov cocktails. It really doesn't get any better than that, does it? SCORCH is an absurdly fun Titan to play. And once you start to master these abilities and experiment with them, you can really start to see how they combo and how they can be used to, again, increase and maximize that area of effect for all of your wonderful fire damage. Now, when you do need to get in close, which happens often with SCORCH, or when the enemy tries to get close to you, you have the thermal shield, which melts incoming fire, making it a great defensive tool against ballistic rounds, but also burns nearby enemies. The thermal shield is honestly probably the best melee or CQC tool in the game. I'm convinced, although I haven't done the testing yet, that this thing does more damage than Ronin's sword. If an enemy gets in your face, pop the thermal shield and simply watch them burn away. As soon as they hit doom state, hit the melee, go for the execution. It's actually a really sound strategy of mine, is to slowly try and close into the enemy, dealing damage, layering damage, until the point where I know I can simply push in, hit him with the thermal shield, and then go for the melee. I have more executions with SCORCH than any other Titan for this reason. The thermal shield absolutely kicks butt. Do not forget to make use of it in close quarters. Of course, you can also use it to kill AI on the ground, as well as pilots that might be trying to rodeo you. Lastly, on the list of abilities here, we have SCORCH's Flame Core. Obviously, we cannot forget the incredible power of this thermite shockwave. It covers a very large area, it has a very long reach, and it's great for taking on multiple titans at once. But you should not forget how powerful it can be in simple 1v1 situations. I see a lot of people hold on to the Flame Core. They want to go for big multi-kills. That's great. But if you're dealing with a Tone like early game or end game in a very close match that's about to shred you, why not give yourself an advantage and hit that Tone early fight with the Flame Core? Shut down the defense of the Tone's particle wall and start to deal damage right from the get-go. It's going to give you a head start. It's going to give you a slight advantage for the remainder of the fight. And the same can be said when dealing with just about any other Titan, but again, especially those with defensive abilities like Legion and Tone. Let's talk Scorch pro tips. So, I already talked a little bit about how I like to play Scorch, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper into that. He may be a slow Titan, in fact, one of the slowest Titans on the roster, but being mobile and performing flanks is definitely a valid strategy, especially on smaller maps where you can engage and then disengage, go for a flank, which, by the way, in the time that it takes you to get from one area of the map to the other map, your abilities are going to recharge, which then sets you up to re-engage from a slightly different angle, a different distance, a different line of sight, whatever it might be. It's actually a really great strategy, especially when the enemy is already engaging friendly Titans. You can focus less on being the center of attention and more on being the support guy who just endlessly throws a stream of giant Molotov cocktails. Really great strategy, something that I really enjoy doing, especially when playing with friends. Give it a go. That being said, being aggressive is definitely an option and a completely sound strategy when it all hits the fan, or just when you feel like going big or going home. It's as simple as that. I like the idea of setting up with Scorch, picking away at the enemy from a distance with a thermite launcher, and then slowly moving in, deploying my incendiary traps, pushing the enemy into a nice tight corner right where I want them, where I can engage my thermal shield, watch them burn, and then activate for the execution. It's an incredibly sound strategy, and Scorch, interestingly enough, has the ability to force the enemy to disengage or to go all in. And if they decide to go all in against you, against Scorch, they're going to have a very, very bad day, and they're going to walk away with some serious 10th degree burns. There is one thing to remember among all of this, though, that a lot of people seem to forget. The thermite that you deploy as Scorch does indeed do damage to Scorch's chassis. So don't just drop 3 incendiary traps and then stand in the thermite all day watching your own health bar tick, tick, tick down to nothing as a Tone flicks away at you with the 40mm. You really have to be careful about where you drop and deploy this stuff. Now, I personally run tempered plating, or at least I've been messing around with it. It's really not that effective. Maybe in the future we'll get a buff and we can have a more aggressive, more careless Scorch playstyle, but right now, you're going to want to just be smart about where you stand when it comes to your own thermite. Put the enemy in the flames, not you, and you'll see a lot more success. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, Scorch. One of the more complex Titans on the roster, one of the more difficult and challenging Titans to play, especially when you start talking about some of the more open, large-scale environments. But when it comes to the small maps where there's all those wonderful confined spaces, if you get a reasonable understanding for Scorch and how he functions, hopefully this video helped you do just that, you can have an insane amount of fun. And he is easily one of my favorite Titans to play. Layering and stacking fire damage to the satisfying tick, tick, tick of a nearly endless stream of hit markers as your enemies burn before you never gets old. And when you turn the corner and you see 3 Titans shoulder to shoulder crammed in a hallway, your eyes are going to light up like it's Christmas. There's a lot of reasons to play Scorch. Give him a go, overcome his basic challenges, experiment with his abilities, get a better understanding for their effectiveness and their flexibility, and see yourself succeed. If you guys have any other questions or concerns with me, as always, feel free to throw them down in the comment section below. I still am working on a new closer, so until next time, I'll see you in the next one.